what the Church of Scientology is so afraid of.
This is SPTV.
Welcome back, everyone, for more SPTV with AA Ron and Relatable Reese. How's it going, Reese?
Well, I want to apologize to everybody. We're late because I don't have a microphone. That's what we've been doing, is troubleshooting the mic for the last 10 minutes. So guys, I'm really sorry we're late. We still didn't get it fixed. So I hope this audio is okay for just today.
Yes, most people can't tell the difference. I'll try not to talk so loudly into my mic so that any difference isn't like so crazy obvious. But I'll tell you what we got in store for today. When you hear Scientologists talk about, or former Scientologists talking about their stories, you hear about things like committees of evidence and crimes and high crimes and suppressive acts and being declared a suppressive person for your crimes and your high crimes. And less often do you actually get a chance to see the list of these things and to see some of the crazy stuff that Scientology considers to be crimes and high crimes. And that's just, we're going to have a little bit of fun showing you guys some of the stuff straight from the Scientology ethics book. Thank you, Reese, for capturing some of these things. The part that we're actually going to skip, Reese, is the whole section, although this would be interesting as well. The antisocial personality, the anti-Scientologist. That is Scientology's word for a suppressive person.
That's you and me, brother.
Yeah.
This is a little tale about the two of us.
That's right. And in this section of the ethics book, he talks about the attributes of antisocial personalities. And this doesn't mean antisocial like I'm shy. This is like you hate human beings and mankind and goodness and light. And you work for Satan, basically.
It's also, when you just say it's the definition in Scientology, an antisocial personality is a suppressive person. It's the exact same thing.
Yeah. And so look, here's the thing. As they comprise 20% of the population, and as only 2.5% of the 20% are truly dangerous, we see that with a very small amount of effort, we could considerably better the state of society. Yeah, if you've ever heard a Scientologist use the phrase a real 2.5%er, that's shorthand in Scientology for a truly, truly dangerous SP. And the 20%, you notice it doesn't say 20% of the population, but only 2.5% of the population are dangerous.
Yeah.
He says only 2.5% of the 20%. Now, look, I grew up in a cult. I'm not that good at math. Let me bust out my calculator here. What is 2.5% of 20%? So if I go 0.2 times 0.025, that is 5/1000th. I was going to say 5 in 1,000. But what is that as expressed as a percent? I don't know, guys. I grew up in a cult. I don't know this shit.
You don't look at me.
Yes. So it's funny. If 20% of the population are antisocial personalities, why are only 2.5%? It's funny, right? Because Scientologists would say that means 20% of the population are SPs. But I don't remember actually truly believing that when I was a Scientologist.
No.
When he says that 2.5% are truly dangerous, I think most Scientologists think 2.5% of the population are SPs. How did you understand this when you were in Scientology?
Well, I thought the 20% were PTS, and then 2.5 were true SPs like you and me.
Right. I remember kind of thinking that too. Yeah.
And they threw that term around all the time. My dad called me a 2.5%er. He called my mom and sister 2.5%ers. That's just a loose, it's just, I guess it's easier putting it that way. But when you're a 2.5%er, actually, I've said before, he equates that to Hitler. He does. It's in the ethics book. I sent you the picture of that.
That's right. And it's funny because this is the part of the book I said we weren't going to cover, but it is just interesting to show people that.
See the bottom? Look at the bottom. Go back. See the bottom right there.
Well-known, even stellar examples. Go ahead.
No, just what you're reading. Go ahead.
Well-known, even stellar examples of such a personality are, of course, Napoleon, Hitler, Dillinger, Pretty Boy Floyd, Christie, and other famous criminals were well-known examples of the antisocial personality. It's not until later that they go, and also your grandma. And you're like, bait and switch. That's how they get you. It's a classic.
I wish there was an updated version of this so it could say well-known versions of this would be Smith-Levin, Quibell, Hopkins.
And anyway, I keep saying this is the part of the book we're not going to spend time on, but the attributes of such evil people, such as Hitler, is he speaks in very broad generalities, such as they and everybody, when attributing like negative opinions. Everybody hates you, Reese. Everybody thinks
knows.
You sound like a cow when you eat candy corn on my live streams.
That's actually factual. That was true. But yeah, thank you for bringing that up again too, by the way, for the holidays. I appreciate that.
Merry Christmas. Okay, such a person mainly deals in bad news because that's what most people remember about Hitler. It was all the bad news.
He was such a gossiper. When I think of Hitler, I think of gossip. The town gossip. Yeah.
Yes. The antisocial personality alters to worsen communication. Okay, so that's like every Karen in the world. A characteristic and one of the sad things about the antisocial personality is they don't respond to treatment or reform, or it even says, or psychotherapy. I can't believe they haven't removed that part.
That's true. We need to update this. It's pretty outdated.
Surrounding such a personality, we find cowed or ill associates and friends who, when not driven actually insane, are behaving in a crippled manner in life, failing and not succeeding. That sounds exactly like David Miscavige.
Sure does, honestly. Yes, it does. That's why this is so much fun. I thought I'd crack open my ethics book today.
Yeah. The antisocial personality selects the wrong target habitually. The antisocial personality cannot finish a cycle of action. So that would be like not putting away the dishes.
I still have clothes in the dryer. I still have clothes in the dryer. It makes all the sense in the world.
Yeah. The antisocial personality will freely confess to the most alarming crimes with no faintest sense of responsibility for them.
The most alarming.
The antisocial personality supports only destructive groups and rages against and attacks any constructive or betterment groups. That's us against Scientology, obviously.
Clearly.
This personality approves only of destructive actions. Helping others is an activity that drives the antisocial personality nearly berserk. And the antisocial personality has a bad sense of property. So that guy at the office that keeps eating your sandwich, just think Hitler, Dillinger, Pretty Boy Floyd, that kind of stuff.
Same exact guy. Same thing.
Yeah. Now, of course, the social characteristics are basically the exact opposites of those. So anyway, this might be fun for us to spend a little bit more time on in a later video. What we really wanted to talk about was the crimes and the high crimes, the suppressive acts.
Well, and I thought it would be fun to look at those. And since we will never see our own SP declares, unless you've seen yours, I don't know. Have you seen yours?
No, I've never seen my SP declare.
Yeah, I really wish somebody would send it to us, but we'll never see them. So I thought it would be fun to go through and see which ones that, because I've typed up declares. You put each crime that you're guilty of on the declare. So it would be fun to connect the dots. Which one goes with who?
That's true.
Yeah.
Okay. Now, very rarely on declares will you have such low-level things such as errors or misdemeanors. They're usually crimes and high crimes. Oh, I think I zoomed in on that one. Oops. So, and the errors and misdemeanors is kind of a long list. So let's skip the errors and misdemeanors for now. Let's go right to crimes.
We're criminals. We're crims. So let's get to that.
Total out ethics DB crims.
Get to the hard stuff.
What I want to point out as we read these crimes is that, and it's a substantial list. So we're not going to be giving examples after each one. I want to compare them to what it says about high crimes. Okay. Now, high crime says publicly departing Scientology. Okay. So that means publicly leaving Scientology is worse than anything we're about to read you in the crimes section, or committing suppressive acts. Now, suppressive acts is the next chapter. Okay. But just realize that publicly departing Scientology is on par with a suppressive act and is worse than anything that's in the crime section. Just keep that in mind, guys. Okay. You cannot overstate this.
So even the
All right.
first one, theft, public
Yes.
disavowal is worse than theft.
Theft, mayhem, harmful and flagrant continued code breaks. That means auditor code breaks. Non-compliance with urgent and vital orders, resulting in public disrepute, fine. Placing Scientology or Scientologists at risk. I mean, that could mean quite literally anything. Omissions or non-compliance requiring heavy intervention by seniors, consuming time and money. Okay, so that's like, again, quite literally anything as long as your senior feels like they had to spend too much time doing your job.
It's fairly generalized, honestly. Didn't he just previously say speaking in generalities is a suppressive trait?
Yeah.
Could you be more specific? Which is
That's
it?
the thing. The general nature of these crimes is such that once someone decides that you need to get a committee of evidence, which is like Scientology's version of a court martial, you are screwed. It's not a fact-finding body like some policies on committees of evidence say they're a fact-finding body. It is a lynching committee is what it is.
Yes, it is. Yes, I would agree.
How many committees of evidence did you have? Do you remember?
I've had one. I've only had one.
I think I've had 3.
Look at you.
Which actually is not that many for someone who spent 7 years on a Sea Org base. Like
overachieving.
I know. I mean, 3 is nothing though. I mean, some people get like a comev a year.
I've had a court of ethics many times, but I think I've only had one comev, but I've had several court of ethics.
Yeah. Okay. Failure or refusal to acknowledge, relay, or execute a direct legal order from an international board member or an assistant board member. There's not even such a thing anymore, but this is still in the ethics codes. Being a potential trouble source or becoming a potential trouble source without reporting it or taking action. So that could be like you go to Thanksgiving dinner and your aunt tells you all about Xenu and David Miscavige beating people up and you do not report yourself to ethics. That's a crime,
correct.
folks. That's a crime.
Right.
Receiving auditing while a potential trouble source. Now, not all the viewers may know that a potential trouble source means you are connected to a source of antagonism to Scientology, or you're connected to someone who's trying to suppress you. Now, in Scientology, it's usually considered that someone is trying to suppress you if they have a problem with Scientology. And so, yeah, you're not allowed to get auditing while you're PTS. And this partially explains why Scientologists are constantly ratting on themselves and each other. Like, you're not allowed to keep doing Scientology as long as it's considered you have some unresolved connection to someone who doesn't love everything about you and what you're doing.
Everything.
Yeah. And that's also why Scientologists are so quick to disconnect from people, because they're considered sources of suppression and they make you PTS.
That's right.
There's a whole list of things here relating to not reporting that you're PTS and that kind of stuff. Being a known accessory to a suppressive act, using a local Scientology title to set aside the orders or policies from the international board, following illegal orders, not directly reporting flagrant departures of policy, being long absent from post while a senior executive. Being long absent from post while a senior executive without advising the board member of his or her division. I feel bad for staff members in present time who have to read this shit and understand what it means that when there is no such thing as international board members anymore.
I was going to say, this doesn't even sound current to me. I don't even remember. Okay.
Yeah. But here's the thing. Even when international management still existed, this paragraph as written would not have applied. There's no such thing as the international board member for your division. There used to be something like that at the Flag Bureau, but not for every division, only for like Div 4. There was a training and services aide back in the day. But, when I say back in the day, I mean like mid to late 90s. But all the stuff was reorganized and these things were never updated. Okay, permitting a section, unit, department, org, or zone to collapse, not taking over as a deputy in crisis, passing org students. Passing org students or pre-clears to outside auditors for private commission. I mean, you know, only L. Ron and Dave are supposed to make that money. Using an org position to build up a private practice. That would be like if, you know, some executive at the org was a chiropractor and they were sending all the Scientologists to their own practice. This could also mean a private auditing practice, a private Scientology practice, but it would also be interpreted to mean using the org to build up your private business. Taking private donations while on staff to audit outside PCs. Okay. Embezzlement.
So public disavowal of Scientology is worse than all of these guys. Embezzlement.
Scientology would rather you embezzle money than tell anyone publicly that you've left Scientology. Keep that in mind, folks. Taking commissions from merchants.
What is that?
Is that back when they had to hire the Xerox guy or something? And maybe you took a kickback if you gave the contract to your buddy at I don't know, at Office Max? I don't know. I don't get it.
Just a regular merchant though, right? Not like us, like a chaos merchant.
No, not a merchant of chaos. That's
just a regular guy. Just like Dan O'Connor, the fax machine man.
That's
fax repair man.
That is right. Yeah. Using an org position to procure personal or non-Scientology funds or unusual favors from the public. I don't know. My mind goes to dirty and dark places when I read this.
That's pretty uncomf.
I get a Harvey Weinstein vibe from this one.
That's
using an org position to procure personal or unusual favors from the public. I feel like this could have been a problem in many places and many times.
Do you think Ron put that one in there because he was guilty of that one most of the time?
Probably, but just remember, it's not as bad as publicly saying you've left Scientology. Just remember that.
Yeah, no, nothing's as bad as that.
Impersonating a Scientologist.
When not authorized?
Impersonating a Scientologist or a staff member. Be like, sir, that's going to be $5 for parking. Do you know who I am? I'm a Scientologist. I'm the only one who can really help.
I was going to say, what if there was a car accident and you said, I'm a Scientologist. Let me give you an assist.
Oh, you know what? I was charged with this one many times. Inciting to insubordination.
What? What does that mean?
It means encouraging others to be insubordinate.
That one's all you.
Not being
That's
nice
all
enough
you.
to your boss. Yes.
That's you.
Instigating a local power push against a senior. These ethics codes must have come from all those early Dianetics and Scientology organizations that tried to break away from L. Ron Hubbard and the Mother Church or the Mother Foundation and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah, they're pretty weird. This is weird. I haven't read these in a long time.
Oh, this one cracks me up because it's spreading destructive rumors about senior Scientologists. You notice it doesn't say spreading destructive rumors about other Scientologists. So like if someone tried to accuse you of this, you could be like, pump the brakes, bro. You're not a senior.
Was this person a big deal? Never mind. Yeah. We're good. Okay. It's so only senior.
This implies that there's actually some hierarchy that like being a senior Scientologist is like actually some sort of a title that's bestowed upon people. And there is no such title. This is purely subjective.
Yeah, that's a weird one. Only a senior. So a junior Scientologist.
Yes.
It's okay.
That's right.
I got it. Okay.
Pretending to express a multiple opinion in vital reports, such as saying something like everybody, which could influence assistant board or board decisions. There are no boards in Scientology, and there haven't been for like there haven't been boards for like a generation or two.
Yeah, that's confusing.
Not reporting the discovery of a crime or a high crime to HR. HCO is basically Scientology's HR. To the HR of the nearest Scientology organization while in authority or as a member of a committee of evidence or as a witness before a committee of evidence. I don't even want to make sense of that one because
Yeah, I don't really get that one. We can just scoot along.
Yeah.
That one doesn't make a lot of sense.
refusal to accept penalties assigned in a recourse action. So that would be like if you were given your findings and recommendations on a ComEv and you request a board of review, and the board of review basically said, no, your ComEv was correct. You have to accept the findings and recommendations. And then you still said no, that would be a crime. All right. Refusal to uphold discipline. I mean, that's an example of one that's so general, it's insane.
It's generalized. And he said that that's a suppressive trait. He really did. Speaking in generalities growing up, like if I would say they or anything, my dad would correct me on that and be like, wait, what did you just say? You know, that's a suppressive attribute. He would correct me. So what are we doing in here, Ron? It seems very vague.
Yeah, totally unacceptable and totally suppressive. Getting another staff member disciplined by giving false reports about him or her. Wow, that's like the first reasonable thing I've read so far.
Because it just says staff member, it doesn't say senior staff member.
Right. Overworking an executive by ignoring one's duties.
Aren't they overworked all the time?
Yeah, exactly. Falsifying a communication from a higher authority. Falsifying a telex message or a cable.
That's on me. That's on me. That's why I got smacked with a fax machine.
Yeah,
fax smacked. I got fax smacked. I sure did.
Oh my God. Causing a staff member to lose prestige or be disciplined by giving false reports. I mean, it's pretty much the exact same thing as before, but
it's kind of the same thing.
Seeking to shift the blame to an innocent staff member for the consequences of one's own offenses. I mean, that's basically what David Miscavige does on a daily basis.
On the regular, for sure.
Yeah. Protecting a staff member guilty of a crime or high crime listed in this code. Okay, so snitches get stitches in Scientology, you guys. Let there be no question about that. Or I guess
what?
Snitches don't get stitches, I guess. That's what I mean.
That's more what it is. Yeah. Look at the next one. By the way, guys, this next one is worse. This next one is worse than the high crime, which is public disavowal of Scientology.
No, this one is not as bad as
Or that's right. Yeah. Well, no, public disavowal is the worst thing
right.
you can do, according to Ron.
The next crime is stealing or seducing another's wife or husband. Why would L. Ron Hubbard specifically put in the list of crimes something he did multiple times?
And Dan O'Connor, they put that one in there for Dan too. Dan and Ron.
Yes. Dan O'Connor, the senior CS Kansas City, only has relationships with people from whom he has stolen from their spouse. Like that's his policy.
Yeah.
Committing offenses or omissions that bring one's senior staff member, unit, department, org, or zone official to personal risk or a committee of evidence, civil or criminal court. Okay. Committing offenses or omissions that bring one's senior staff member, bring one's unit, bring one's department, bring one's org or zone official to personal risk and or to a committee of evidence or to a civil court or to a criminal court.
There you go.
Okay. So I guess committing the offense is its own offense, and then causing your senior to be brought to court because of it is yet another offense. Right.
That would be a crime.
Okay.
Yeah, that's a crime.
Willful loss or destruction of Scientology property, making out or submitting or accepting a false purchase order, juggling accounts, illegally taking or possessing org property, causing severe and disreputable disturbances resulting in disrepute, obtaining loans or money under false pretenses. I mean, holy shit, that's how Scientology raised a few $100 million.
Isn't that how they raised all their money?
Well, I guess if by false pretense you mean lying to Scientologists about how the money is being used, then that would be totally true. Yeah.
Like, all the propaganda arms and stuff like that. Yeah, that's under false pretense.
But like obtaining a loan under false pretense, to me, one of the ways I interpret that is obtaining a loan or obtaining a money under false pretense. That's all the credit card fraud and the identity theft and the fraudulent credit card applications. That might not be what Ron meant when he wrote this, but that's kind of how I interpret it right now.
Yeah.
Let's see. Condoning circumstances or offenses capable of bringing about a state of collapse. That's kind of what I consider like the David Miscavige's ideal org strategy to be. It's caused the collapse of people joining Scientology.
I love the next one. The next one we're doing right now.
Holding Scientology materials or Scientology policies up to ridicule, contempt, or scorn. We are actively committing Scientology crimes in this video, folks.
As we speak. Actively happening. That's hilarious.
That's why we are SPs. Heckling a Scientology supervisor or lecturer. I've never seen that happen because a lecturer isn't really a thing anymore. But now I want people to infiltrate Scientology Sunday services to heckle the lecturer, to heckle the person. I can't say anything that's not dirty. I was going to be like, I can only think of dirty ways to heckle people.
I would imagine that's true for you.
Can you think of any ways to heckle someone?
I'm always the undertones of a dirty person. So no.
Falsely degrading an auditor's technical reputation. Okay, but you can accurately degrade the reputation.
Only falsely here. Yeah, no.
Like Susie couldn't call an FN if it smacked her in the face like David Miscavige.
Like a fax machine.
Yeah. Okay, impersonating an executive staff member. All right.
Only an executive though? That's what I mean. Wait.
Well, they already said earlier that you couldn't impersonate a Scientologist or a staff member, but now they had to be. You also can't impersonate an executive staff member.
Okay,
if you're a junior staff member.
Keep that straight. Okay.
Pretending Scientology certificates, classifications, or awards not actually held to obtain money or credit. Okay, so it's only a crime if you're doing it. Who obtains money or credit by pretending I'm a class 6 auditor? You can trust me. I'll pay you back. That's a bit of a weird one.
That's a weird one.
Some of these are silly. Using Scientology harmfully.
That is so general. What about seducing a minor? That's not as bad. That's not as bad. There you go.
Publicly departing Scientology is considered a greater offense than seducing a minor.
Why is that even in there, by the way? Like, why was that even necessary? I was seduced as a minor, so maybe it was just a long time pattern.
Yeah. Yeah, you'd think when it comes to something like that, they would just say anything that violates the laws of the land is a crime. And that they would only put things in this text that specifically was Scientology specific.
I agree. I really do think that's kind of a creepy ass red flag right there. Seducing, that's pretty specific.
It's very
seducing a minor. That's gross, Aaron.
Strangely specific.
What about using policy to create problems? I did that all the time.
Oh yeah. Using policy to create problems.
Look at the one underneath that. Committing a problem.
Committing a problem. That's Sir, my middle name. We have 200 people coming for the event and we only have 20 chairs. Knock off your taste on post and stop committing a problem. Make it go right.
That's committing a crime. Committing a problem is a crime.
You're going to be brought up on charges at your next comment for committing a problem.
Guys,
this is how your job for you.
This is how strict. Committing a problem.
Check it out. Allying Scientology to a disrelated practice. I don't know. The Nation of Islam comes to mind.
Yes.
Condoning the suppression of the word Scientology in Scientology use or practice. What does that mean to you?
I don't know what that means. I really don't know what that means. The suppression of the word Scientology. What is the suppression of the word Scientology?
I think it means arguing for not using the word Scientology when, like, almost being embarrassed or saying let's not use the word Scientology. If, like, for example, at the Hollywood Test Center, when they are trying to get people in for Scientology, but instead they go, hey, here's a ticket for a movie. We're having a party in here. Do you want to come inside and see? To me, that would be condoning the suppression of the word Scientology, because they're not allowed to say Scientology before they get them in the door. So to me, that could be an actual crime.
Well, it's certainly committing a problem. And I wish I would have remembered that more when I was a Scientologist, because I would use it all the time. I'd be like, you're committing a problem. And you realize that's a crime.
There's committing a problem, but then there's committing a solution, which becomes a problem. Holy crap. I mean,
whoa, talk about stepping on eggshells.
I know, right? Now, case on post is largely understood to basically mean crying or
showing any emotion.
It can include screaming, but only if you're a low-level staff member. If you're a high-level staff member, that doesn't count.
Well, then you get a commendation.
That's right. Then you're just being a good executive.
You're just getting the job done.
Oh, wow. That was the end of it.
That was the end of crime. So then, yeah.
So high crimes, these consist of publicly departing Scientology or committing suppressive acts. So again, seducing a minor, less of an offense than publicly departing Scientology.
That's the big one.
Yeah. You'd think, honestly, that when they edited these books, they would have taken something as like ridiculous as that out of there. But guess not.
It's more than ridiculous. Like, it really gives me the creeps.
Yeah.
It really creeps me out.
So they give away the plot here when they explain that suppressive acts suppression of Scientology and Scientologists. So anything that actively suppresses Scientology or Scientologists is considered the most heinous type of crime. And it explains here that suppressive acts and acts calculated to impede or destroy Scientology or Scientologist, and which are listed at length below. Oh, okay. There's a lot of details in here that we don't want to get into. But let's take a look at these. These are pretty interesting.
So this is what would be listed, right? Am I wrong, Aaron? But this is what would be listed, because they do list these on an SP declare. This is where they would say, and they violated and committed these suppressive acts, and they would list them out.
That's right, because technically you can only be declared a suppressive person for high crimes.
Mm-hmm.
Any felony against person or property. I think it's sort of implied here, and I could be wrong, someone might feel otherwise, that the implication is that any felony committed against another Scientologist, not just a felony committed in general. Because otherwise Danny Masterson would be declared, and other than one unconfirmed report, he has not been. This is interesting. Sexual or sexually perverted conduct contrary to the well-being or good state of mind of a Scientologist in good standing or under the charge of Scientology, such as a student or pre-clear. Why so many modifiers? Perverted conduct. Like, okay, contrary to the well-being. It doesn't even say illegal conduct, like actually illegal conduct. This is, for example, the type of charge that would be levied against someone who was gay.
Yeah, who is this geared toward? Like, what is that about? What is an example of that? Contrary to the well-being or good state of... This is too weird the way he worded this. Don't you agree?
For me, I believe this would apply, for example, to someone who was an auditor who was having relations with the person that they were auditing, for example, would fall under this category. Okay, next one. Blackmail of Scientologists or blackmail of Scientology organizations. Blackmail of Scientologists or Scientology organizations threatened or accomplished, in which case the crime being used for blackmail purposes becomes fully outside the reach of ethics and is absolved by the fact of the blackmail unless repeated. This is the ultimate get out of jail free card. Because you could just arrange for someone in Scientology to try to blackmail you for some crime that you've committed so that you will be absolved of that crime.
That's really messed up, man.
Yeah. Okay. Some of these are boring. Oh,
Yeah.
look at this. Testifying or giving data against Scientology falsely or in generalities or without personal knowledge of the matters to which one testifies. So in other words, the only testimony you're ever allowed to give is against Scientology is, I don't know. I don't recall.
Basically, yeah,
I don't
that's
remember.
right. This is so culty. Going back and looking at this now, this is really creepy, guys. I hope there's some under the radars watching this.
Yeah. So I'm going to jump forward to this one. Using Scientology or a perverted and alterist technology and calling it Scientology harmfully so as to bring about disrepute to an org or Scientology itself. This is a kind of charge that can be levied against anyone who ever does anything that gets bad press for Scientology, because someone in a position of authority will always say that you did what you did by misapplying some part of Scientology and your mistakes brought about disrepute. And so it doesn't really matter if you were following someone's order or whatever. If you do something and Scientology looks bad, you've committed a suppressive act.
Yeah.
Because it says using Scientology or a perverted or alterist tech and calling it Scientology. So it's so general. The last one is kind of in the weeds. Unauthorized use of the materials of Dianetics in Scientology.
That's a high crime?
Yeah. Let's see.
Where's the part where you threaten to sue Scientology? Because that's one of the first things they ask when you get sec checked and questioned. Have you ever threatened to sue a Church of Scientology? I haven't even seen that yet.
Let's see. Well, here's this one. Knowingly giving testimony which is false, which is a generality, or which is not based on personal knowledge to imperil a Scientologist. Now, someone might go, oh, so you could give testimony that is true, that is specific, and that is based on personal knowledge to imperil a Scientologist, and that would be okay. It's just that the way these things are interpreted and applied, any testimony you give is testimony that the powers that be will say is false, as long as you're giving testimony that is against or will imperil Scientology. So, and then, of course, there's the next one. Public disavowal of Scientology or Scientologists in good standing with Scientology organizations. So there you go. By testifying in a court of law against another Scientologist in good standing, you are publicly disavowing that Scientologist.
Yep. That's sick.
Public statements against Scientology or Scientologists, but not to committees of evidence duly convened. Okay. Proposing, advising, or voting for legislation or ordinances, rules, or laws directed toward the suppression of Scientology. Pronouncing Scientologists guilty of the practice of standard Scientology. So if you have an ethics officer who's enforcing disconnection and you are basically blaming or scolding the ethics officer for enforcing familial disconnection, you are pronouncing the ethics officer guilty of the practice of standard Scientology. In other words, you're making someone feel wrong or bad for doing what Scientology says needs to be done. Well, and here we go. Here's the next one. Testifying hostilely before state or public inquiries into Scientology to suppress it.
Oh, wow.
Here we go. Reporting or threatening to report Scientology or Scientologists to the civil authorities in an effort to suppress Scientology or Scientologists from practicing or receiving standard Scientology. I mean, that's it.
You can't tell.
Yeah. Bringing civil suit against any Scientology organization or Scientologist, including the non-payment of bills or failure to refund, without first calling the matter to the attention of the International Justice Chief and receiving a reply.
Everything has to be done under the umbrella, and you can't sue another Scientologist or you get declared.
That's right. And the catch here is that the reply will always be, thank you for your letter. I refer you to the policy letter that says,
yep,
you're not allowed to do this. Demanding the return of any or all donations made for standard training or processing actually received. or received in part and still available but undelivered, only because of the departure of the person demanding. The departure of the person demanding. So basically, asking for your money back is a suppressive act.
Why? Now I was going to ask you, why do you think he put that in? Why would that make you? Because guys, remember, everything Aaron is reading right now calls you a suppressive person. These aren't little, all of this is high crime, suppressive acts. It equates to you being suppressive. Why would that? Why? Asking for your money back? I mean, why would that equate Hitler? Remember, he used Hitler as. Why?
Well, because Hitler wanted his money back.
It's very weird, isn't it? Like these major criminals throughout history that he listed off equate to that. Asking for your money back?
Yeah.
Why is that such a bad thing?
I mean, I think it's because, L. Ron Hubbard was all about that money. Many people don't know this, but when you give money to Scientology for auditing, that money is spent immediately. So if you ask for that money back, it's not like you go to a bank and they're just giving you your money back. They have to pay you back out of the income from that week. So like if org approves a refund, an org could basically have to go without pay for like a month because they have to take the income of the org, which is not substantial, until they've made enough back to pay back. So in other words, the money that was made earlier was sent up to management. But when the refund is approved, management doesn't give you the money back. You have to come up locally.
You got to come up with
the money. Yeah.
That's really unfair. You would think that they would have some sort of a system in place where someone does ask for a refund. Management has billions. You'd think they could cut a check like a corporate company would, because it is a business. It's not a religion. So you'd think they would just cut a check and say, okay, be on your way.
That's right.
But they make the little guy suffer. The local org has to suffer.
Yeah. This is one of the best catch-alls of them all. Failure to handle or disavow and disconnect from a person demonstrably guilty of suppressive acts. It doesn't even say found guilty of suppressive acts, just demonstrably guilty.
There you go. So that when they say we don't have any, and this isn't even the actual policy on disconnection, but there it is. When they say we don't force that, they act like there is nothing about disconnection in Scientology. There you go.
That's actually a little more cut and dry than I remembered this being.
It's fairly cut and dry. Yeah.
Because that doesn't even mean someone that Scientology has said is a suppressive person. It's like if someone's out there and they're doing things and they haven't even received a committee of evidence, but they're demonstrably guilty of suppressive acts and you did not handle them or you did not disavow and disconnect, you yourself have now committed a suppressive act. You've harmed Scientology and Scientologists, even if only yourself, Reese. You've suppressed yourself. We're saving you from yourself, Reese.
Thank God for that.
Being at the higher of anti-Scientology groups or persons. There you go. This is an example of why David Miscavige does not want any non-Scientologists owning businesses in downtown Clearwater, because he can't tell a non-Scientologist who to hire or not hire. So a non-Scientologist owning a business in downtown Clearwater could hire someone like me, theoretically, to work in that business, and then or a non-Scientologist landlord in downtown Clearwater could rent me commercial space. I could open a business. I could hire other SPs to work in that business. And David Miscavige doesn't want any of that. He only wants good Scientologists working for good Scientologists anywhere in the vicinity of the Flagland base.
Right.
And that's why David Miscavige makes sure that downtown Clearwater is a ghost town. All right, let's see. What is this? Calling meetings of staffs or field auditors or the public to deliver Scientology into the hands of unauthorized persons? I don't even know what this means. I got to be honest.
They think there's such a big deal. No one cares about any of this. Like none of this even makes any sense to ex-Scientologists. It's confusing to us.
Yeah. Infiltrating a Scientology group or organization or staff to stir up discontent or protest at the instigation of hostile forces. The thing is, like, if you're going to infiltrate a Scientology group, then you're not a Scientologist to begin with. So what are they going to do? Hold a committee of evidence on a non-Scientologist?
That's what I mean. It's just, it's really
Or is this like them?
uncomfortable.
Is this like them accusing Sterling of working for the CIA? Like if they would have, they're interrogating him about whether he was a CIA plant, even though he was born and raised in Scientology. So I guess the CIA was playing the long game with Sterling. They must have brainwashed him last lifetime, had him reincarnate into a Scientology family, and then work for the company, from what is it?
That's
what is
insane.
It when, what's the damn word? What's the word when the egg fertilization?
What?
Sterling was working for the company since he was fertilized. He just didn't know it.
Oh my God. Poor Sterling.
Yeah. Okay, one of my favorites, because I was accused of this all the time, mutiny.
Mutiny. I was going to say, that one's probably on your declare.
Yes. Seeking to splinter off an area of Scientology and deny it to properly constituted authority for personal profit. I always thought that he put way too many modifiers on these sentences. Like, for personal profit does not need to be on that sentence. It's enough to just go, seeking to splinter off an area of Scientology and deny it to properly constituted authority. Even if you're not doing it for personal profit, it would still be a high crime. So it's unnecessary. He uses too many words, Reese.
He does. He's very wordy. I think he tries to be wordy too, to be confusing. And then he's also incredibly vague at the same time.
F. Barney said, I think the word you want is conceived. Yes, that is definitely the word I was looking for.
Fertilized.
Yes. Yeah, fertilized. Oh my God, there's so much more. There's way too many.
They have to have that many so they can declare people. And then it's just a big messy bag of, it's so vague. Are any of these worth reading? We don't have to go through them all.
Engaging in malicious rumor mongering to destroy the authority of repute of higher officers or the leading names of Scientology, or to safeguard a position. Again, way too many words.
It is. That's wordy.
Delivering up the person of a Scientologist without justifiable defense or lawful protest to the demands of civil or criminal law. There you go.
How did I ever get through this course? I don't remember any of it.
Receiving money, favors, or encouragement to suppress Scientology or Scientologists. Again, way too many words. Suppressing Scientology or Scientologists is the high crime. Receiving money or favors doesn't need to be an extra high crime. Anyway, what do I know? I grew up in a cult.
And you're full of high crimes.
Yeah. Severe breach of ecclesiastical and or fiduciary duty as an executive or corporate official. Using Scientology lines for personal profit in such a way as to cause disruption in the organization or to block the flow of public up the bridge. Oh, this is one that this next one I love. Using the mailing lists of Scientology or Dianetics organizations for personal profit or gain. Scientologists creating Facebook groups are sometimes accused of violating this high crime.
Really?
Yes, because they're like, you are compiling names and lists of Scientologists, and you wouldn't know these people if it weren't for Scientology. And you're basically trying to recreate or duplicate Scientology mailing lists. Like, seriously, sir, your high crimes are showing.
Witness. Oh my God.
Oh, this one gets used against Scientology business owners all the time. Employing org staff members to the detriment of the production or the establishment of the organization. This is the biggest catch-22. Staff members don't make enough money to live. So staff members usually have to work jobs unless they're supported by a partner or something like that, right? So Scientologists have to go work for someone. And in many cases, the organization would rather that you went out and worked for a non-Scientologist than a Scientologist. Because if you work for a Scientologist, that Scientologist will oftentimes get in trouble if that person having to go to their job gets in the way of something they have to do at the org. So there's a lot of Scientology business owners who are like, I'm not touching any Scientology staff members. I don't need that headache. They got to go out and get a WOG job, is what they call it on staff.
Yeah,
they go get WOG job
in a non-Scientology place. Yeah. So stressful.
I'm not reading that next one. It's way too long.
It's too long. It's too wordy.
Yeah. Calculated efforts to disrupt church services or the flow of public up the bridge. Refusal to allow staff or public to progress up the bridge. Creating blocks on the bridge, preventing such progression. Blatant and willful obstruction of church operations or interference with church contractual and other obligations. Neglect or violation of any of the 10 points of keeping Scientology working. One of which is simply applying the technology. So if you fail to apply the technology the way Tom Cruise would at all times in all situations, you're guilty of a high crime and you're kind of like a Hitler.
Kind of. We're kind of like a Hitler. You know, going back up to that, putting blocks on allowing someone to get up the bridge makes me think of our housewives ones that we would do. Because remember, they would be like, I'm trying to be on OT7. My kid won't sleep. It won't eat. Were they implying that the child had high crime?
Have you shown your kid the ethics codes and informed him that he's committing suppressive acts against you by wanting to see his mommy at dinner time? Get that kid's ethics in. He's an out ethics DB crim.
That crim is full of high crimes at the age of 2. You better solve that quickly. We need to do more of those.
This is how the Sea Org kids and the Cadet Org were viewed, as blocks to people going up the bridge because they might have wanted some attention from their parents for like an hour a week.
Yep, that's true.
They were suppressing Scientology.
That's right.
Oh my God, I can't read the technical D grades. I forgot all about the tech D grades. This is incredible. You know, if you're a Scientologist and you believe in what this says, don't you have to ask yourself why there has not been a St. Hill special briefing course for 10 years? David Miscavige canceled the Class 6 auditor course. You haven't been able to do it for 10 years. It was the one course in Scientology that was composed exclusively of L. Ron Hubbard lectures and reading L. Ron Hubbard's technical bulletins. Like, it was considered the most on-source course in Scientology, and Miscavige just canceled it.
I didn't know that. So is it coming back? They're just fixing it?
I have to imagine that people in Scientology would say it's going to come back when there's enough people who, once it's been fixed, once Miscavige has fixed it, that it's not canceled. You just can't do it right now. It's just not available. You know.
So let me ask you something. Speaking of that real quick, right now they're on the admin training is going on at Flag, which is the other, that's not the tech volumes, but the admin volumes. So the green volumes. I won't go into too much on that, but they're studying that for the execs. I wonder if they're going to have a technical training program then. They've already had one, right?
That's right. They've already had 2 of them. And so, you know, they had the golden age of tech, the first golden age of tech. And even when they did the first golden age of tech in 1996, there was a period, except even back then, there was never a period where they canceled the Class 6 auditor course. They let people keep doing it until they released the new one. They never just said you're not allowed to do it.
So if it's been canceled, Aaron, how do people go on to train up to Class 10 auditors in the Sea Org?
Well, you mean Class 9 and Class 12, like 10, 11, and 12, you do at the same time, really. So the answer to your question is,
if you get up to a Class 12, how do you skip 6?
You skip 6 and you skip 8. So what they do is they've been doing up to Class 5. And usually you do up to Class 5 graduate, which is a different course. But as of right now, I don't believe there is a Class 5 graduate course. So you do up to Class 5 and then you do Class 9. You literally skip 6 and 8. 7 has always been a Sea Org only course. 7 is you do power processing. It's where you learn to do the power processing. So 7 has always been like a weird specialty course. But the Class 6 auditor course used to be a mandatory step on the way to to class 8 and class 12 and class 9 and class 12. The class 8 course used to be a mandatory step on the way to class 9 and class 12, and they're both canceled.
Wait a minute. That's crazy. I didn't know that. But
There's a new generation of class 12 auditors at Flag. None of them have done the class 6 course or the class 8 course. And this only matters to Scientologists,
course
obviously.
Is huge. It's all of the tech volumes. Hold on, though.
That's right.
Because you can't go past class 6 and not be Sea Org. You have to be Sea Org if you're going to go past 6. You can't be a class 8. That's correct, right?
You can be a class 8. You can be a class 8. You can't be a class 9, 10, 11, or 12.
Oh, I thought it only went up to 6 for non-Sea Org. So non-Sea Org can go up to class 8.
Yes.
I wonder why Dan
not
didn't
anymore.
do that.
Not anymore because it's canceled.
But Dan was the highest trained in this whole Midwest vicinity because he's a class 6. I always thought that was weird then. Why wouldn't he go up to a class 8? Why wouldn't you just...
I'm guessing when he was doing his training, he never made it up to OT3. You have to be OT3 before you can do class 8.
Okay, yeah, because he just
probably never made it.
He probably
never made it to OT3 until after he went back to his org after he finished his
training. After. Yeah, that was in 98 when he did that training evolution. And he, in the last 5 years, has been on his OT levels. So yeah, that makes sense. Okay. I did not, for some reason, know that a non-Sea Org member could be a class 8.
Yep. Just not a class 9. Because class 9 auditors deliver OT5, and OT5 can only be done by delivered at a Sea Org by Sea Org members under Sea Org supervision. OT3 you do to yourself.
Right.
And a class 8 auditor is qualified to audit certain correction actions on an OT3, but they don't actually deliver OT3. So they make you finish OT3 before you're allowed to do the class 8 auditor course. But that's as far as the public can go.
Wow. Okay.
And only like 16 people give a shit about what we're talking about right now.
That's true.
I was waiting for the number of people watching to like fall off of a cliff. I'm surprised that it didn't. So
no,
some
it's
of you guys
actually
must
increased.
Be really used to hearing all this stuff that you are mildly interested in it. So thank you for.
I know. I thought this would be a fun one today. It's kind of more boring than I thought it was going to be. But I really did want to know for my own sake. I was like, I wonder which ones would be on our suppressive person declares, and there's so many.
All of the violations of keeping Scientology working.
That's true.
Mutiny, fomenting disrepute of senior Scientologists, all of those. And I forget, I only remember like these two. Come on, you can do it. Come on. Oh, I look like an idiot. Come on. I look like a total moron just sitting here like this.
I pay for it. Why doesn't it work for me?
Oh, whatever.
Okay. Showing off.
Whatever. Okay. So yeah, which one of these are there any, would you, what about stealing someone's husband or wife? I never did that in Scientology. Did you, were you guilty
I only know,
only Dan O'Connor, really.
You mean back when I was 13? I was stealing all the husbands. That was my middle name.
What if they accused you of being an accessory to the seducing a minor by being the minor?
That's probably on my declare. Yeah.
What if they accused you of not handling or reporting the person who seduced you? You were the minor, but you were also a staff member, so you were guilty of condoning his crime against you, obviously.
I mean, I'm pretty sure that did happen. Remember, I got a non-interbulation order put on me for, it said on the order I was entertaining the men of the org, and I was 14 years old.
Oh my God.
So that's pretty gross when you say that out loud.
Yeah. Blake declares us both LPs, lovable persons. The whole lot of you. Thank you, Blake.
I mean, not a lot's changed. I've been pretty flirty, I guess, my whole life, but entertaining the men of the org, that's pretty gross.
Yes. Love you both. Thank you for all that you do, providing a daily dose of entertainment. Hope you're able to do more Housewives videos soon, Christina. Yeah, we almost did one today, actually.
Yeah, we need to do that. I need you to line that up because that's a good laugh. That is a good time.
Yeah. Marilyn Honig.
Today's
Hey,
her
you
birthday.
too. I saw that in the chat as someone else.
Happy
It's coming up
birthday, babe.
in another comment. Happy birthday, Marilyn. I was so excited to see you were on. I almost dropped my spatula. By the way, I'm taking down notes of your crimes so Rodney can deliver your official Goldenrod SP declares. Yes.
I'm so excited about that.
Rodney is amazing.
He is amazing.
Yeah, free Xenu project. How do I get authorized to impersonate a Scientologist? Can you authorize me for that, Aaron? Yes. In fact, oh my God, the William and Jessica down at the test center on Hollywood Boulevard should just show up and have something that they say about they're committing crime, impersonating Sea Org members, impersonating Scientologists. Did you see Jessica bought them the vests, the tight vests that they could wear over their clothes to impersonate Sea Org members?
No, but that would
I'm
be
recommending that William and Jessica's viewers buy properly sized shoes for Lurch and Twilla and Toucan and Sebastian. The Sea Org can't really afford the proper sized shoes. So maybe it's something that the TikTok and the YouTube community can help with, to show them that we're not all just a bunch of, or that the big bad SPs aren't all bad. We can help clothe the Scientologists in need. Okay.
That's sad.
Richard Gibson. There are 1,661,391 truly suppressive people in the United States. That is 0.005%. Yep. That's a lot of people. Oh,
We're two of them.
SPTV Tattoo Warrior Barb. Aaron still can't get the lid off my drink thing with one legend and 3 lost kids on it. She bought one of these thermoses from the merch store and she can't get the lid off. I wonder if it melted. Did you put it in the dishwasher, Barb? I wonder if it melted.
Oh, that sucks.
Lydia von Schletchklaw. Happy birthday to our Marilyn today.
Yes, I love that. I did a stream with her yesterday. It was so much fun. She's so fun to chat with.
Is it on both your channels? I didn't see it pop up for me.
Tis.
I'll have to check it out.
It was fun. She's really hilarious.
Barb says, where would you like me to start my heckling world tour? Hey, Xenu, you eat with that lion mouth?
Heckling.
Who did it say you weren't allowed to heckle? A supervisor or a lecturer? See,
was that specific? So a senior Scientologist would be okay there?
You can heckle senior Scientologists and it's not a crime.
But you can't be starting rumors.
You can't steal their wife. Can't steal.
Oh yeah. It's so specific yet so vague.
You can't seduce their kid. Well,
that's right.
Just don't publicly depart Scientology, and it'll be okay.
Don't seduce the children. That's sick.
Julie Landver. Hi, Aaron and Reese. So glad that you guys are finally back doing lives together. Love you both. Thank you so much. Yeah, she resent me 2 audio recordings today.
Yes.
Now, are those meant for 2 separate videos or for one video?
I mean, you could do it either way, but I feel like maybe just as one would be better for the people. I think we should try to get that done maybe this week. That sounds like fun.
Agree. I totally agree. All right. Let me see. I'm trying to look at the regular chats for anything, but it's so hard for me to scroll through this, particularly at the end.
I saw Kathy O'Toole just had a question.
I decided to unsuppress myself when I opened my own heart and live in love, ease, and emotional freedom. Take that, Scientology.
I love that, Daria. I love Daria. Kathy O'Toole, I don't know where it went. She said, are there even enough staff to protest at the Kansas City org? Here's the thing that we actually haven't covered in a while. The Kansas City org is completely staffed and run by what's called a mission here, which is the Sea Org. I mean, there's a lot of Sea Org staff running it because they didn't have enough staff to staff the Kansas City org that opened 3 years ago. They were supposed to come for 6 months and staff it and get everybody hired and then leave, and they're still here. So it's totally run by Sea Org. So I would say it's fully staffed. It's just not with non-Sea Org staff.
Yeah. Sarah Broward. Reese, loving your pop of red. It really looks cute on you. Aaron Black always looks great. Love your duo. Live, guys. Keep going strong. Love you
Thank you,
both.
Sarah. Love you, Sarah. I
Thank
was
you,
trying to be
Sarah.
festive because Christmas is less than a week away and I'm not quite ready.
Do you have any other videos coming up this evening?
You know, I don't know. Do you? Jeez, it's
I'm
already
doing
4:15.
I know I'm doing another one with Natalie Webster this evening. I forget the time, but probably in 2 or 3 hours.
Okay. What are you guys
And
talking about?
I don't remember, but she texted me about it.
Oh, okay.
And yeah, let's see. Oh, it'll be another top 10 list. 10 things you will not hear said in Scientology. Or squirrels and false data stripping. So we'll decide which one it's going to be. Either way,
That's
it's gonna
fun
be a
too.
blast.
False data stripping is really fun.
Well, all right, guys, let's wrap it up there for this one. Thank you for hanging out with us this afternoon.
Bye,
Thank you, as always,
guys.
to everyone who watches until the very end. Talk to you soon.
Okay, if you want to see my rock and roll songs, click right on this guitar. And if you want to see a different one of my videos, oh, dancing for my love, then you could click right inside here.